Property prices have increased a steady 15 to 20% a year in Dubai for the past 4 years. If you are an investment in Dubai or considering making your first purchase, the question on my mind and on yours right now is, in 2024 in Dubai, are we experiencing a long bull run that will last into the future? Or are we in a bubble market that is about to burst? Welcome back to The Investment Deal, the home of investment properties in Dubai and beyond. And today, we will dive into this question with analytics, with metrics, and attempt to solve it once and for all. My name is Salvador Silva. I am a tech industry veteran, and for many years now, I have been a real estate broker in Dubai, advising dozens of clients to make successful investments in our market. So let's get started. To understand whether we are in a bubble market or not, we should actually try to understand what is a real estate bubble. And let's define it. A real estate bubble is a substantial and sustained mispricing of an asset, the existence of which cannot be proved unless it bursts. So a bubble is not a bubble until it happens. That being said, there are 4 indicators of a market that is potentially in a bubble. And they are excessive construction activity. You've got your supply outstripping your demand. This is the fundamental one. You've got the decoupling of property prices from local incomes. If people cannot afford houses, then what is the point? The third one is the decoupling of property prices from rents. The prices have increased so much, the rental yields cannot keep up, and it makes you question whether the property prices make sense in the first place. And the fourth one is excessive lending. This is a key one. If we look into the past, prime example, 2008 Lehman Brothers bankruptcy, 0 down mortgages, people who shouldn't be taking mortgages, buying properties and not being able to service these payments. So let us map these 4 risk indicators of a real estate bubble into the reality of the Dubai real estate market right now. Let's start with the supply side of the equation. At the start of 2024, JLL, which is a leading authority in real estate research, said that there were about 729,000 residential units in Dubai. Now, we are now in October, and year to date, according to DLD data, about 19,000 new units have been added to the supply. This makes for a total of 748,000 units in the market, or if you'd like to round it up, 750,000. What is the growth projection? So our methodology was to assume a 5-year timeline from project launch to completion, and to look at the publicly available data for the breakdown of percentage completion on projects currently launched. And we map these onto a chart that estimates that every year from 2024 to 2030, there will be a low of 28,000 units added in 2025 and a high of about 44,000 units handed over in 2028, with the mean sitting somewhere in between around 35 to 40,000 units a year over this 5-year period. Now, 40,000 units may sound like a lot to add in a single year, but how does this map into the city's population growth? That brings us to the demand side of the equation. Right now, there are about 3.77 million people living in Dubai. There are about 4 people per home in Dubai. The city's population growth rate is about 4.1% a year into the future, which is conservative considering that during the 2010s, in some years, the population increased by as much as 10%. Now, assuming a steady average household size of 4, you would need exactly about 40,000 units to keep up with the population growth. So, are we in a bubble in terms of supply? Will supply outstrip demand? I think not. And there are a few other things to keep in consideration as well that help regulate the market in this sense. The first thing is that a lot of residential units that get completed actually go towards short-term rentals. Not every unit is going to be used to house a family. And with tourism being a massive driver of people influx, and hotels very often not being able to keep in mind that a lot of these new homes will naturally be allocated towards Airbnb because of the owner's profit incentive. The second thing to keep in mind about Dubai's housing supply is that a big percentage of developers that are putting out a lot of units are government or semi-government initiatives. These semi-government initiatives operate under government directives to help keep prices in control through market-driven tactics. If supply started to outstrip demand, the government or semi-government entities could easily cut back the supply of new launches to try to bring supply back into norm. Now, the second metric that will help us determine whether we are in a bubble is to look at people's spending power. If people cannot afford to purchase homes, they will stop coming to Dubai because it will be comparatively less attractive. So, how does the spending power of people in Dubai in terms of property purchasing power map out against other red hot markets? Now, a few months ago, I actually wrote a LinkedIn post comparing the real estate market in Lisbon and the real estate market in Dubai, comparing the price per square foot in those respective cities with the income per capita. And the realization I came to was shocking. Now, keep in mind that we're comparing after-tax income because unlike Dubai, Portugal is not a tax-free, income tax-free country. Now, what I found was that if you look at the after-tax income of a Lisbon resident over the year and you look at the average property prices, he would be able to buy no more than 2.21 square meters of property in the city where he lives. Now, if you compare that with Dubai, the net income of the average citizen here would allow him to buy 15.41 square meters of property. Now, 15.41 is hardly a studio apartment, but very few people are going to buy an entire home with a year's income. If you consider that most people's income are going to be used to save over a few years to buy a property or are going to be used for down payment, 15.41 square meters, considering that the minimum down payment in Dubai for a mortgage is 20%, is actually not bad at all. And indeed, another piece of research from UBS dated this year was comparing the number of years your average skilled service worker would have to work to buy a one-bedroom small flat in the central area of their respective cities. Hong Kong, Tokyo, Paris, and London were at the top of the chart with the time it would take in Hong Kong for an average worker to buy a flat taking upwards of 20 years on average. Dubai, on the other hand, was near the bottom of the chart, together with cities like Madrid, Miami, and Boston. The average worker in Dubai could save up to buy a house within as little as 5 years. The third aspect I would like to look at is the property price to rent ratio. When property prices raise very quickly, as happens in a bubble, rental yields and rentals tend to fall behind. That is because the demand side, as expressed by tenant demand, just cannot keep up with the crazy price increases. If we see that rents cannot keep up with price increases, then we see that the real players in the market, i.e. residents in this case, simply do not want to buy and simply cannot afford the rental increases that will keep regular yields in line. Now, one metric we can use to look at this is to see the number of years a flat needs to be rented out to pay itself back, what we call the payback period. Once again, looking at UBS's research, we see Dubai at the very bottom of the chart. A property investor can break even on his home's purchase price in as 15 years, compared with Zurich at the top of the chart, where the payback period would be 40 years. Indeed, Dubai remains a great market to be a landlord and a great market to be a tenant because of the simple, clear, and transparent rules that everyone abides by. While you can get a net yield of 6 to 7% right off the bat, tax-free by buying a property, it's normal that as property prices appreciate, this yield is going to go up. Now, for tenants, the great security is that their renewals are capped based on the rental value of new contracts. A typical increase, if prices have increased 20%, will be no more than 5%. And even if property prices were to double in the area where you're a tenant, you can never be raised more than 20%. Of course, as a landlord, you have the security of knowing that you can submit an eviction and have your tenant moved out with a 12-month notice period. And as a tenant, you have the security of knowing that in this dynamic environment, you can always find something that you can afford somewhere in the city, and the access to a mortgage is relatively easy while remaining risk averse. That brings me to the fourth aspect that we should look at to determine whether Dubai is in a bubble, and that is the lending. Now, there are three metrics that I think we should consider to understand if the lending environment in Dubai is risky. They are loan to value, debt to income, and the mortgage transaction ratio. Loan to value is how much of the property value is loaned out when you buy it. In other words, how much of a down payment do you need to put down if you are looking to buy a property on a mortgage? Now, there are some safety benchmarks that I would like to compare these with. Now, it is generally agreed that the safety benchmark for a loan-to-value ratio is 80%. Anywhere below 80% is safe. In Dubai, the average is 76.6%, meaning that the average down payment is about 23% in Dubai. Now, loan-to-value in itself does not mean too much if you don't look at it together with debt to income. It's very simple. When you get pre-approved for a mortgage, the bank is going to look at how much money you make per month to determine how much you are able to service. Now, different banks in different countries will have different caps on how much of your income can be used to service debt. It's generally agreed that no more than 30% or 36% of your income should be used to service debt. Not all of your debt is going to be your house. It could be that you have car financing, personal loans, etc. Now, when calculating the debt to income ratio in Dubai, banks will look between 20 and 35%, meaning that if you look at the safety benchmark, Dubai is absolutely within the norms. Now, the last ratio, and I think the most telling one at the market level, is to look at the mortgage transaction ratio. This will tell us out of all the transactions in how many are being carried out in cash. Now, mortgage buyers are ultimately a risk for the market, because when a lot of mortgage buyers default on their payments, that is when you start having mass foreclosures and prices tanking. When you have a high ratio of cash buyers, not only do you have a more liquid market because you have more people are looking to buy straight away and do not have to wait for loan approvals, these people will also not be hunkered down by debt. If you have a low percentage of mortgage buyers in a market comparative to other markets, it means that in a situation of crisis, that market will be more resilient to price crashes. And because of the high percentage of cash buyers, it can bounce back more quickly, as any foreclosed homes would get snagged up quickly by the cash buyers in the market. There is no set safety benchmark for this, but it's generally agreed that the lower the percentage, the better. In the US, for example, in 2024, the percentage of mortgage buyers was 83%. 4 out of 5 people in the US are buying homes on a mortgage. In Dubai, the ratio is split nearly down the middle. 57% of buyers are buying on a mortgage. In my opinion, this is a perfect healthy mix. You have got your end users who can still access credit and buy a property and be able to service the debt, and you got another half of the market that is ready to provide liquidity and buy homes in cash without feeding debt into the system. So let's conclude. We have looked at 4 metrics today to assess whether Dubai is in a bubble. These were supply versus demand, end users being priced out, rents not keeping up with property price increases, and the ratio of mortgage buyers to cash buyers. If you would like to learn more about the process of picking out your first investment property, we have prepared a 1-hour masterclass for you. Click the link below in the description to access this video and let us know if you would like us to get in touch with you to begin your tailor-made property journey. If you're not already subscribed to the Investment Deal Dubai, please do so now and hit that bell icon to get notified every time there is a new video. Thank you so much for watching. Once again, my name is Salvador. I'm a property expert in Dubai, and we will see you next time.